Senior Moments, sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Good morning and welcome to the Senior Moment Show. We are glad you're here with us. Thank you for joining us. My name is Bruce Lee. My co-host is Sid Roeder.
Good morning, Bruce. How
morning.
You doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Excited to be here.
Excited to be here. Me too. We've got a fun guest today. You're going to love his booming voice. We're welcoming to the show Jonathan Choate, who is the owner of SD7 Technology Group. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you for having me.
Really glad to have you here today. Before we get into what we're going to talk about with Jonathan, we want to talk about our sponsor, Sid, and that is your job.
Absolutely. Our sponsor is the Empowering Seniors Group, which is a group of professionals that has dedicated their time and efforts to provide information to seniors, their family members, and really anybody who cares. If you'd like to learn more about the Empowering Seniors Group, you can do so online at empoweringseniors.info, or you can email us at empoweringseniorscv@gmail.com, and the CV stands for Cache Valley. And lastly, if you have any suggestions for this show, any subjects we haven't talked about, you can call me personally at 435-512-6406.
Thank you very much, Sid. We've invited Jonathan on the show today. It's been a few years, but you've been on before. So
yeah, I was 2.5 years ago or so, I think.
2.5 years ago, yeah. And your wife actually is a radio personality.
She is the morning host, or one of the morning hosts on Q92.
She is. And so I don't know if we have to have some kind of copyright release.
I think that's sort of the full disclosure thing. So
yeah. And Jonathan, you've actually spent some time on the radio as well.
I spent 8 years as the host of the For the People show.
Yeah, you did that.
And it's been a while. It's been 6 years since I
So if you're listening out there and you think, man, that gentleman has quite a radio voice, it's well earned.
I have done the radio, yes.
You've done the radio. We've invited Jonathan on the show today because in his capacity as owner of SD7 Technology Group, he sees some interesting things with respect to fraud and some stuff that we thought we might want to share with you, our listeners, to help you to avoid potential pitfalls. But before we jump into that, Jonathan, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself and SD7?
Sure. My name is Jonathan Choate. No, I won't. I was going to say something silly there, but I won't.
Good.
I'm getting better at that. It's only taken me a decade on the radio to not say the first thing that pops into my head. So, yes, SD7 Technology Group, we are an IT outsourcing company. And one of the things that we specialize is security consulting and incident management. So over the course of years, I've had a number of opportunities to help dissect various after-action reports of people who've been hacked or money that's been stolen or ransomware that's gone and infected a company, and try to find out, what was the cause of it and, how we can prevent it in the future. So it's kind of built me up. I have a whole bunch of stories I can tell as to how people have made mistakes that has cost them a lot of money, or they've lost information, or various things like that. And I just want to share some of that experience to help people to recognize how to avoid these things, and if you do fall for it, what's the proper way to react to them.
Fantastic. I actually remember, Bruce, didn't you have at some point in time visiting a potential client at an assisted living facility, have a little interaction there?
I did. Jonathan can probably comment on this, but when I very first started my business, I have a home care business for those of you who may not know, but we did some training, and our base of operations is in Detroit, Michigan, and there's great, big, huge assisted living facilities out there, and I happened to be walking around with somebody and meeting people, and we walked into the room of one woman, and she was on the phone. And I said, what's going on? And she says, well, I'm just on the phone with this person. They're unlocking my computer. And I was like, what do you mean? She says, yeah, she was browsing to find out about the Real Housewives of Atlanta because one of them had a baby. And while doing that, she had downloaded something and it locked her system. And sure enough, a very helpful little box popped up and told her where to call. And so she called that number, and the very kind person on the other end of the line was helping her spend $500 to get her computer unlocked. And so I asked her to if I could take that call for her, and she handed me the phone, and I get on the phone and imagine how that very nice person on the other end of the line all of a sudden became not very nice.
No, it's when they find out and they know you're no longer a mark. Every single time they have just exploded into expletives. It's kind of fun if you know what to expect.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like you may have been on the phone with one or two yourself there.
Well, we all get them, right? We all get the calls. Hey, I'm with the extended warranty on your car has expired. Well, I don't have any extended warranties on any of my cars, so obviously none has expired. But so somebody's calling and trying to get me to sign up for something, or they're from Hilton or Marriott Rewards, or they're from Google or Apple or Microsoft or any of these things. There's all these cold calls. Happens to we all get them. Most of us just ignore them. I figure, it's the auto thing. Just hang right up. But sometimes, just for my own experience, and not because I enjoy taunting people, it's not that at all. You can play with them a little bit, right? You just get the call and you play dumb, and they'll sit there and waste their time trying to convince you. And it's really fun. You could just pretend you have so little knowledge that you can't even do the simple thing they're asking you to do. That's what's really fun. And they're trying their best to not get mad, and they're trying to talk you through how to do the simple thing that gives them access to your computer so they can steal from you. That's what's going on.
And there's those, and those are somewhat innocuous. Sometimes they'll go away, but there are some that are really malicious, and they target seniors, and they'll do things that really will. They'll say a family member has been put into jail.
I actually had that one happen to me. I'll tell you the story, because stories are always the great way to do this. Now, it was kind of odd, because had they called me directly, it would have been much easier to do. But they actually ended up calling my dad. So I get this call from my dad that says, hey, son, I just got the call from, such and such place's police department, and your son, I won't give which son it is, your son's in jail. He's in Nevada. They were on their way to California, and he was drunk and driving and hit another car, and there was a pregnant woman in it, and she was badly injured, and just this whole sob story of all these things that had happened. Now, by poor coincidence, my son had decided to not put his phone on the charger. This is the son who didn't live with us anymore. He'd been moved out. So the whole weekend, I couldn't get a hold of him. I kept trying to call him, and this sort of added to the fuel of, well, maybe this is real. So I do a little calling. Eventually, after a couple calls, we find out, okay, this is fake. And I played with him a little bit. But my son, finally, we get a hold of him, like, where have you been? Well, I was just sleeping most of the weekend. I wasn't feeling good. That's it. But they had a great story. They pretended to be the prosecutor. Hey, he's in jail. We need some bail money, all this stuff. And they had their story worked out. And they did not have accents that made them almost impossible to sound. They definitely had American accents. And their story was down pretty good. These were savvy. So it can happen to anybody.
Yeah, we're already coming up on our first break here, but Jonathan, all those stories you're telling are very interesting. We hope to find out a little bit more after the break, maybe about some of the things that are newer on the fraud market, I want to call it. So again, this is the Senior Moments Show. We are sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Whether you have a small business, large corporation, or sole proprietorship, remember Cook Martin Polson has provided quality accounting services since 1977. At Cook Martin Polson, they believe you've earned it, and they're going to help you keep it. Take a minute right now to call 750-5566. That's 750-5566 to set up your tax appointment and let Cook Martin Polson show you how to keep the money you have earned.
This is Jared Ripplinger with Cook Martin Polson. You've worked hard for your money. Let us help you keep it.
When it comes to successful aging, eating well matters. Staying physically active matters. Getting socially engaged matters. Living alone, aging alone, it's harder to consistently do that. Hi, this is Chris Grohl with Pioneer Valley Lodge, where we make it easier to do those things every day. Our mission at Pioneer Valley Lodge in North Logan is to help seniors live better, age more gracefully, and stay independent for as long as possible. Pioneer Valley Lodge, an independent living community for seniors.
Oh, it seems like yesterday I was playing with my kids on the playground.
Seems like yesterday I was building a treehouse in the backyard.
Time goes by too fast, but there is something you can do to ensure you're taken care of down the road. I'm Tracy Ferris with Quality First Insurance. A long-term care insurance policy is something we all need as we get older. If you wait until you need it, you're too late. Let me help you understand the options and benefits of long-term care insurance. Call me today, 435-752-0101.
If you're retired or plan to retire soon, will you outlive your money or will your money outlive you? If you don't know the answer, I can help. Hi, I'm Patty Bartholomew, a financial consultant with Parsonex Securities. If you have questions about your financial plan or just need a second opinion, call me today at 435-227-5556.
Investments are not FDIC insured, nor are they deposits of or guaranteed by a bank or any other entity, so they may lose value. Investors should carefully consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the funds. This and other important information is contained in each fund's prospectus and summary prospectus, which can be obtained from a financial professional and should be read carefully before investing. Securities offered through Parsonex Securities, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC, 8310 South Valley Highway, Suite 110, Inglewood, Colorado, 80112-303-662-8700.
Welcome back to the Senior Moment Show. If you're just joining us today, we have invited and are talking to Jonathan Choate. He is the owner of SD7 Technology Group, and we're talking about fraud and malicious people that use phone, cell phone, internet, electronic means of communication to steal, do nefarious things, and what to do about that. You know, we were talking earlier, Jonathan, you had an experience with your mom where, and sometimes the older generation, their phone etiquette is different than what ours is now. And if someone's trying to keep them on the phone, they'll stay.
Yeah, and so that's one of the interesting things. That's why these are often referred to as senior scams. Not because they are particularly only targeting seniors, but it's because the phone etiquette and, well, let's just say, the cynicism we have with technology, it tends to be the younger people don't fall for these, only because we are less trusting, right? We live in an area that is just so absurdly safe. I mean, it's literally the safest place on the whole planet, the area we live in. And so it's very easy for us to take that security and safety that we feel in our physical environment and apply that to the online environment. And that's not the case. The online environment is just as nasty here as it is anywhere else. And in fact, it's often worse because people know we're more trusting. So it's an area that's targeted. So you just have to have a greater level of reticence about accepting anything online as true. It's sad that that's the case, but that's just the way it is. We have to realize that there are many, many people, whether they're individuals, whether they're organized crime, which is the most of them, or in some cases even state-sponsored actors. They're out there trying to disrupt the American economy and to scam individuals for profit.
So do you have some good advice maybe for our seniors? For example, let's maybe go back to the phone calls we were talking about. I mean, as you mentioned, I'm of the generation, if I even hear so much as a call center in the background, I typically just hang up. I don't even want to hear if it's the extended car warranty or my student loan that I don't have that they can deal with, or any small business loan that they've approved for me. But for our seniors, what's a good way to get out of that phone conversation?
So here is the thing, and I will give you. So when my mother had her episode with somebody pretending to be from the sheriff's department, they were not. She stayed on the phone with them for a while, and they try to keep you on the phone. They want to scare you from hanging up. I am giving you permission, blanket permission, to just hang up the phone. Yes, it's rude, but they're trying to steal from you. They're more rude than you. Just hang up. It doesn't matter. If it were a legit call from the sheriff's department, they'll call you back. Or they'd even send a sheriff over if it was something important, right? A sheriff's deputy. So it's okay. Just hang up. Real or not, if you suspect that it's not real, just end it.
Yeah, if something like that happens, I mean, and they are representing that they're from the sheriff's department, you could call the sheriff's department back yourself.
Now, don't ever accept a number to call back from the person on the phone. Oh, well, you're not, I don't really think you're from the sheriff's department. I will call it directly. What's the number? Because they'll actually have somebody generally pre-positioned to call in and accept the call under that guise. So you look up the number yourself. Oh, here's the Cache County Sheriff's Department. Here's the number. I will call there. Is there a Detective Johnson, I'm making a name up there, that I can speak with? He called me about this incident, and they will go, no, that doesn't exist. And you'll know. So yes, always, if you suspect that it could be real, reach out through other means. Look up the number directly, things like that, and that way you will be able to verify. But for the most part, I'm telling you right now, 99.9% of the time, it's fake. Just hang up.
Right. And in the real estate industry, I think we've talked about that one before. We've seen a lot of fraud coming in under where you receive emails from like a title company or a mortgage officer, and they've copycatted the logo. It looks identical. There's usually a slight variance in the email and a different phone number, and then they ask you to deposit or transfer the money to a different account than you've been previously given. It's always a good idea to call back with the number that you have for someone, or with the number you can find in an actual phone book or online for an actual service, or ask your kids that you trust if they will make that call for you.
Verbal verification. That is now the industry standard for a if you have a scheduled payment that goes out, right? You do it every month, or somebody pays you every month, or whatever it is. That's not what we're needing. But if you have a non-scheduled payment that somebody's requested, it's verbal verification with somebody you know, right? If you're sending money, you probably know somebody on the other end. So you verbally verify the transfer information and that there's even a transfer requested. We don't have time in the show to go over all of the various incidences that I've personally worked on where either A, they were able to stop the fraud by verbal verification, or it went through because they didn't do it. It's a very, very common thing. So anytime you're going to transfer money, whether it's to kids, whether it's to buy something, real estate, a car, whatever, you verbally verify information if you received it unsolicited. I was on the phone and I asked them, hey, would you send me that wire information? And then I got an email from them with the wire information. I've already done that beforehand. It's not like you have to call after. But the point is you'll always have that second point of contact with a person you know, or from a phone number that originates outside of there. So you look it up directly. It's kind of annoying, but it's necessary to avoid these things.
So, Jonathan, you mentioned state-sponsored issues a minute ago, and I just wanted to kind of define that a little bit, because obviously we're not talking about the state of Utah. We're talking about the state of North Korea and the state of Russia.
China, North Korea, Iran.
And that's really how, we have cyber warfare going on out there, which is basically warfare being fought on computers and malicious people trying to harm. But now that's gone even state-sponsored, and that's the kind of thing people also need to be watching for.
So the vast majority of the things are not some lonely person in his mother's basement with too much time on his hands and no morals. That's the caricature. The reality is most of it is organized crime. Most of that is Eastern European, or it's state-sponsored, with China and Russia being the two largest state sponsors of hacking groups. So there are entire units that are funded and run by the state. I say state, but national governments, whose some of them are attacking infrastructure, government things, water, power sources, etc. But others are just simply trying to be disruptive to an economy. Ransomware attacks that shut businesses down, scam groups, things like that, because it helps to fund their more aggressive things towards governments and things like that.
Thank you, Jonathan. We're already up on our second break here, so we'll make sure to also mention your phone number, and maybe, I don't know, you were doing some education on that in the past?
Yes. So I did some presentations at senior homes, but then COVID hit and we had to stop because we couldn't have any gatherings. So after we come back from the break, we'll go over, if you're with a group and you'd like to have a presentation, we can get in touch.
This is Brian Erickson for the Sunshine Minute. Each day, our nurses, CNAs, cooks and servers, housekeepers, laundry staff, music, recreation therapy teams, office staff, receptionists, and many more arrive around the clock. These heroes show up ready and willing to serve and protect our residents and clients. We are so grateful to our dedicated team. On behalf of the Board of Sunshine Terrace Foundation and our community, thank you to all of our employees for keeping us safe. We bring more to life together.
You have a lot of options when it comes to buying or selling a home. Do you list it online, sell it yourself, or do you have a realtor help? It's a major financial and emotional decision. A realtor is the liaison between buyers and sellers and really helps you navigate complex contracts, deadlines, and disclosures.
Hi, this is Sid Roeder with Achievement Realty. I work for you to get the best outcome for your situation. Let me earn your trust with a free consultation and a free market analysis. Call me today at 512-6406. Then list it, sell it, and move on.
Did you know that one of the greatest threats to our quality of life is a fall? 1/3 of Americans 65 and older, and 1/2 of those over 80 will fall this year. Many will never be the same again, and some will never return to their homes. This is Bruce at Comfort Care. One of the ways we can help people stay in their home is through our free in-home fall protection survey. Let us help you identify these fall risks. Call us at 754-7676. Comfort Care, 754-7676.
Reed's Pharmacy in Hiram offers free delivery service 5 days a week, Monday through Friday throughout the valley. Just stay home and they will deliver to you. With 25 different suppliers, they won't have the shortage that others might have. Also, with compounding and many other services, they will be able to serve all your needs. In order to stay safe and help slow the spread, please call Reed's Pharmacy in Hiram at 245-DRUG, and they will take care of you.
This is Mark Thurston with White Pine Funeral Services. The best time to plan is when you have time to plan. Having a prearranged funeral gives peace of mind for everyone involved. White Pine will customize your final wishes to fit your needs, from a traditional burial to cremation to a custom headstone. White Pine also accepts prearranged plans from other mortuaries, and we will absorb any transfer or revocation fees. No penalty to you. Visit whitepinefunerals.com or come and see us for more information.
White Pine Funeral Services, here when you need us most.
Welcome back to the Senior Moment Show. We're talking with Jonathan Cho today with SD7 Technology Group. He is the owner there. We're talking about, well, a lot of bad stuff that's out there on the internet and electronic means of trying to defraud you. And I'd like to shift a little bit and talk about some of the things you can do if you see something that looks odd.
Yeah, so the response. So we talked about trying to detect it, figure out what it is. Obviously, the greatest defense is skepticism. Just simply don't believe it, because it's probably not true. Hang up the phone. If your computer has a pop-up that comes up and says that you're infected, you need to call this 800 number or whichever it is. Don't do it. Just turn your computer off. If you're really not sure, ask somebody that you know. There's generally plenty of people out there. I've gotten thousands of calls. Hey, this thing came up. No, just close it. It's not real. That's the end. I don't even have to hear what it is. The way they say it, it tells me, just close it, reboot the computer, you're fine. Unless you've called the number, then it's much harder. You call the number and they get into your computer, boy, the response then is much bigger. So if you have done that, there are many things we have to do. We need to get somebody to help you change your passwords, cancel your credit cards, get new ones. There's a bunch of stuff you have to do if you fall for it. Much easier to catch it in advance and just don't do it. And some of this advice goes to caregivers out there. Making sure that those who are under your care have been given some of this information, that they're aware. Yes, if you don't know what something is, call me. And if they don't know what it is, they can call me or somebody else who's a professional. But it's really just about making sure we have that skepticism and that we ask. If we don't know, we go up the chain.
So I will say, with what you just said, you were ramping up to have me ask you if you'd be willing to share your phone number in case somebody is in that position.
Yes. So if you're in that position, you can reach out to me. Area code 435-232-6237. You can email me, jonathan@sd7.net. And I'd be happy to answer those questions. What I'd really like to do, though, is to get in contact with anybody who maybe is in charge of various groups so we can give the presentation to a larger group of people. It's a little more efficient that way. And it's nice where people can get into a group and we can talk and we can answer questions. It's really nice when people have the ability to bring up, well, what about this? What about that? And some people just need to hear the information in a different way. So it gives that feedback from them, helps to really make sure that they have received the information that we're trying to convey.
I want to go back to that thought of skepticism, because I found that to be maybe the most useful tool kind of all the way around. And some of those things that will come in over a text or an email or Facebook or, there's all different kinds of places that they put that little feeder in to try to get you to click on some link.
People who've had Facebook accounts hacked.
Yeah, there's a bank account. They want information. I always see there's always like some weird link that doesn't match. It's got some weird.
They use a link service that will take a long link and shrink it, like tiny URL or something like that. So you can't really tell what it is because it's generic. So you can't see that it's actually going to an IP address of a server in India or wherever it happens to be. And that's a way stuff will often be sent, is with those condensed links. But again, it's more about thinking about, did I initiate this contact, right? Is this a service I was already paying for? Like, say, an antivirus that you purchased for your computer. If you didn't buy antivirus for your computer, then guess what? Nobody's out there watching over it except you. It's not going to pop up and tell you you're infected because guess what? You're not paying them to do that. Now, they'll try to pretend that you can pay them money and fix it, but it's going to be worse. They're just going to actually infect it.
I want to add something because my wife and I have had this conversation a couple times because she will want something on the internet and it's free. And so she'll download something that's free, and the next thing I know,
yes,
I got a virus.
There are plenty of legitimate free sources of software or things on the internet, open source projects, etc. However, the vast majority of things are not free unless they come with a string attached, which is often malicious software, adware, things like that try to infect your system. No free lunch. We all know that adage.
Exactly, if it sounds suspicious. We're already coming up on the end of our show, so I don't want to miss the question, Jonathan. Is there anything that has popped up over the last little while that you still want to talk about?
They're just mostly variations of the same thing. The ways that we interact in our life. We've got email, messengers like Facebook Messenger, chat things. Those are all sources for malicious information. Phone calls, texts, pop-ups on your computer. That's really what they are. But they'll just be variations, and they'll go through different ones. The phone calls will be somebody in authority or some company that they pretend you've done business with. And the thing is they'll just call and pretend to be, say, Chase Bank or Wells Fargo or whatever, any major bank. And eventually, it'll be one that matches yours, right? Because they're just going to do all of them. Oh, hey, this is from Wells Fargo. I bank there. It must be real. No, they just also did Chase and also did, Citibank and also did all the others. So, again, it's that skepticism. It's don't trust it unless you initiated it and are expecting it. And if it comes out of that, verbal verification or just ignore it.
Yeah, as you said before, I think it's important to know you can hang up, and if you feel like you want to call your own banker back to find out if someone from your bank called you, that's the best route with the number you have. Yes.
Believe me, they are much happier to take the call in advance than you calling later and saying, hey, I transferred a bunch of money to somebody and it turns out it was a scam. Can I get that back? Because that's a lot harder. They would much rather get the call that says, oh, no, that's not real. Don't do that.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for coming in. We're at the end of our show, but we hope you were interested in what we had to say today and you tune in again next week.